Urban Legends Retold by Kayla Malone. A collection of short stories, forged from twisted imaginings, ghosts, monsters, zombies, mermaids, and even murder. Pulled straight from urban legends and loaded with blood-curdling horror. Don't worry, they aren't real, as far as you know. Graveyard Shift. I leave my old Mustang behind and approach the boneyard slowly, unsure if it is worth it to be here. My English teacher had assigned me the task of getting a great picture of this place to include in an upcoming essay. She claimed it would count as extra credit and serve as much-needed inspiration for my project. Gritting my teeth, I march onward feeling eager to get this over with and leave. A rusty metal gate grants me entry into the abandoned graveyard in the woods. Once inside, a wild gust of wind chills me to the bone and pulls at ends of my hair, as if teasing me. Overhead, a pastel sunset can still be seen as it slowly begins to transition into nightfall. Instinct tells me to turn around and head back to the safety of my car, but my pride gets the better of me. Cautiously making my way deeper into the burial ground, I notice how faded the inscriptions are on most of the stone headstones, with most of the names unreadable, lost forever to the passage of time. A loud slam from behind forces me to turn around. Noticing that the great iron gate is now closed, I tell myself that it must have just been the wind, trying to calm uneasy nerves. While standing there, the overwhelming stench of rot catches my attention and makes me feel ill. However, it does not linger and is soon taken away by the gales of wind, leaving me to wonder if it was just imaginings or perhaps something far worse. It is really quiet here, reminding me of the fact that it is hallowed ground. The gravestones form long strange shadows that seem to scratch at the earth, almost like clawed hands, as the last rays of light fade. The ghoulish shadows seem to be a warning to anyone that would dare disturb the deceased eternal slumber. Continuing on, I lose my footing on the uneven ground. My arms instantly grab the nearest gravemaker. The stone feels smooth and cold underneath my bare palms. A large ornate raven carved onto the aged stone catches my attention. The tombstone has my name across it and reads, "Victim of her own greed." I gasped and stumbled to the ground in disbelief. Then a breath of strong wind hits me hard and starts to push me back. In the gales, unreckonable voices can be heard calling out, warning me to leave right away. Goosebumps form on my skin as the wind continues to push me out. It is as if this place is no longer the same, it has transformed into a bridge to the afterlife and is struggling to evict me. Unable to muster up any more courage, I turn and run for the gate. I glance back to see skeleton hands starting to emerge from the graves. I scream bloody murder as a bony hand grabs onto my shoe, causing me to fall face first and into the moist soil. Fighting wildly, I manage to pull my foot free from the shoe, before making a beeline for the gate. The cries of the undead echo around me as I try desperately to force open the heavy gate. However, no matter how hard I push, it will not give an inch. Unwilling to give up, I begin to climb over the fence, pulling myself up by the ironwork. The top is covered with ornate points. Somehow, by some miracle, I manage to get over them without impaling myself. Once on the other side of the fence, I waste no time and race back to my car. I yank the door open and dive inside. However, before I have a chance to do it myself, the wind slams the car door shut. While trying to start the engine, a terrifying scraping metallic sound can be heard from right outside the car. Taking the not-so-subtle hint, I lock the car doors. I finally manage to crank up the car and speed up the overgrown dirt road. While escaping, it feels as though I had just trespassed into the realm of the afterlife, and just got away by the skin of my teeth. Strange dreams. For the past few months, I have been plagued by the same nightmare that changed only ever so slightly from night to night. The dreams are always so confusing because I am never myself. Instead, I am a strange figure dressed all in black that disappear into nothingness at will. The dreams always start out the same, finding myself sitting outside my own house at night, seemingly observing the moving shadows through the windows. Recently, however, things have escalated. Now, I often find myself under the kitchen window, listening in. I have told my parents about all this, only for them to write it all off as mere nightmares. If so, how do you explain the boot prints under the window in the flower bed? A few nights ago, our old tomcat named Fluffy disappeared. Yesterday, I found his collar in the neighbor's yard covered in dried blood. I somehow just knew where to find it, despite the fact that it was hidden under shrubbery. Last night things took a turn for the worst. This time I dreamt about younger sister. I was following her as she walked home from school. Now, I'm terrified because she is late getting home, something that has never happened before. I cannot shake the feeling that something terrible has happened. An hour later, my parents and the police are out searching for my little sister. They had asked me to stay behind at the house, just in case she comes home on her own. After a while, I get bored and decide to watch some TV. At some point midway through a rerun of CSI, I fall asleep. This dream is more vivid than usual. I find myself in the woods behind my house. It is daytime and I can hear bird song and the sound of digging. Looking down, I notice that I am digging a large hole in the damp clay-based earth. Realizing that this must be another nightmare, I desperately try to wake up. That's when I notice a mound of earth to the side. Sticking out of it is a piece of wood and written on it in crude letters is the word, Fluffy. My eyes go wide as I scream internally. This cannot be real. Wake up. Please, wake up. To my amazement, I do wake up to find the evening news on. How long was I asleep? I sit up and rub the sleepiness from my eyes. Then get up onto my feet. Something feels off, however, my feet feel crusty and damp. I look down to see them covered in red clay. Never go off alone. It all started one day when my father was gone on a trip out of town for a few days and had taken my family's only car. During this time, my mother ran out of her nerve medicine and was having panic attacks. My 18-year-old self was naive and decided to walk about half a mile up the road in the summer heat to the local pharmacy to go pick up the medicine. In an effort to save money and keep from having to call a cab to take me both ways. However, a traumatic experience that happened shortly after left me having nightmares for weeks. I left around noon on that hot summer day, knowing that the store was in walking distance with just my flip phone held tightly in hand. Luckily, there was plenty of traffic that day causing me to pay extra attention to my surroundings. Walking along the sidewalk, I kept an eye peeled for any form of danger. Finding that was no one around to be seen except for the motorist on the road, so I let my guard down a little. I had just cut through a gas station parking lot when I began to have the feeling of being watched. Turning around I saw no one in sight before turning back around. Just then I heard echoing monster-like roar of a powerful engine coming from behind me and looked to see a strange dark sports car with pitch-black tinted windows pulling into the parking lot. From a frontal view, I could just make out the forms of two men riding in the front seat. A strange feeling of fear caused me to step back from the curb and move a few feet away onto the grass. From behind the sound of the car's engine grew closer. Then they pulled up beside me and cracked the window, just enough to be heard talking. "Hey, babe, want a ride home?" asked a deep male voice who was hidden in the shadow of the tinted glass. I was surprised but managed to say firmly, "No, go away." Nothing more was said before I darted across the roadway into the pharmacy's parking lot. By the time I had made it halfway up to the shop, I noticed that the same car was following me, causing my fight or flight sense take over. In a mad dash, I ran across the pavement heading for the safety of the building. Just as I did, the car picked up speed trying to head me off before I could make it inside. To their surprise, I took a shortcut and ran through the flower beds. When I made it to the door, one of the men yelled, "You stupid bitch." Then they raced off and I noticed the car had no license plate. I shuddered at the thought of what they had tried to do. Afterward, I was plagued by nightmares where they would capture me and stuff my body into the trunk of their car. There, I would scream and bang on the trunk desperate to escape, causing me to wake up covered in sweat and crying. That is until the family dog started sleeping with me at night, offering her comforting presence. From that frightening day onward, I learned how to be more careful, have started carrying pepper spray, and avoid walking around town on my own. Because of my experience, I warn all young women to be wary of your surroundings and always carry some sort of protection when out alone.